Number two, change is really a pathway. Change is not a single skill. Change is not anything magic. Change is not about being able to give the family some tool that they will be able to use. Instead, change is a complicated relational pathway that's most successfully done when we do it in alliance with the family. Now, what's important about that is that we're working together with them to help them meet their needs and to do it in a way in which we know it will work. Again, as I said, some things that they may not have asked for. To do this, it's important that it takes two. The role of the clinician is as an expert. That expert role is as the translator of the FFT model to the family. That happens through the discussions, their thoughtful and purposeful focusing of discussions, and their thoughtful and purposeful focusing of different activities within the session. The family members are experts in their culture, their values, their style, and their characteristics. The family's focus is not on the process of change, but on the outcomes. They want to feel better. They don't really care how they get there. So FFT's change pathway works best when it's done by two experts. The therapist who owns their expertise in the change process, and the family who owns their expertise in understanding themselves. And it takes the two working together for successful change. Part of the way we talk about working together with families is through alliance. And alliance is a term that's worthy of some discussion. And it's a central tool in engagement, motivation, and in each aspect along the way. And alliance basically means that you try to get every member of the family on the same page so that they believe we're all part of the problem, we're all part of the solution, we're all important, and we're all need to be involved in this as we move forward. Now, family alliance is about taking all these individual people and making explicit the connections between them and the fact that each depends on the other and vice versa. Within family alliance is actively promoted by you by creating a safe space for them to address their different problem definitions and ideas so that through the discussion, they come to see the noble intention of each other's behavior. They come to reinterpret the intention that they'd put, and they come to be able to sort through their emotions and be able to see people as doing the best they can do to contribute to the whole family. Family alliance allows the families to build trust, because what happens is that when they build trust, they can reduce negativity and blame, and it facilitates a shared sense of purpose. So while alliance with the therapist or the interventionist is important, alliance between the family members is one of the core building blocks of FFT. Again, it's a little like thinking this way. We want to get everybody on the same page so that while they're on the same page, they can work to the same end. Alliance and collaboration also works, and it's important to do outside of the family system in terms of the community providers as well, because everybody working to the family good is what we're hoping. And that just doesn't happen a lot of times in treatment. Treatment providers pull families in very different ways. So very explicitly in FFT, we're focusing on being able to organize system collaboration all for the good of the family. So we have the family and community service providers, and all through FFT, we're going to both contact and collaborate with them, all to the end product of helping the individual change. The model is what we call relational and functionally focused. What that means is a really important thing, which is that the primary focus here is not on the past, but it is on helping the foster parent and the youth work together on solving daily challenges. We actually think that it's in the working on those daily challenges that healing occurs, as well as stability occurs. We think the focus should really be on how rather than why. So how do they work together rather than what caused it? And as placements stabilize and other permanency resources like birth parents or guardians or prospective adoptive parents may emerge, we also want to include them in that same family focus. This is also a model that is safe, and has a focus on functional family relationships. Now, what I mean by that is that it is the patterns of behavior between the foster parent and the youth, and the patterns of behavior between the permanency parents and youth, that is our primary focus. Because when those are stable, and when the meanings that get developed and the way in which those patterns are glued together become safe and stable, healing can occur. This is an attachment-based approach, meaning that our focus is on, through our unique perspective on relational function, in promoting and increasing security. And that occurs by helping build effective and alliance spaces between youth and caregivers. That way, needs can be met, things can be negotiated, things can be worked out, but with a sense of security. And it is in stabilizing those relationships between youth and foster parents and permanency parents that we think will help provide a way of understanding how behaviors make sense in this particular context. Treatment is successful when it's done in a purposeful, individualized, integrated, and coordinated way. What I mean by that is, down to session by session, you will have a purpose for why you do what you do as you speak with the families that you're working with. It's a big ask in terms of clinicians, but it's an important ask, and it's the ask that families bring to us every single day, which is to be prepared, to be thoughtful, and bring the best that you have to help us every time you see us. What this means is that treatment from our perspective takes place in every interaction you have with the family, not just in a formal session. If you happen to be doing transportation and taking a youth or a caretaker somewhere to get some practical help, those moments in the car are invaluable, or priceless, as they would say. So regardless of the formality of the setting, remember that it is you and your contact with the family that is therapeutic and what therapy is about. You can make every one of those contacts purposeful if you think about and use the treatment planning tools in FFT. We're trying to provide integrated care in collaboration with community partners to avoid unnecessary duplication or contradictory services. So what that means is, be purposeful in not providing something that someone else is, and be purposeful in using what someone else is providing and building upon that. In an ideal world, we'd work with all the key players in interaction that are interacting with the family to provide continuity of care. And what that means is that when big decisions have to be made, make those out with the other service providers. You're going to be an advocate for the family, but you're going to be an advocate in promoting the family's ability to do it themselves. So as purposeful as we can with the things that happen inside sessions and outside sessions, that's what we're seeking to do. As a purposeful model, FFT has a very clear map that's embedded in it. And that map, as I've said before, is a change process map. It's just a map that says, if you're going to begin a journey of psychological change, begin here. In the middle sections of that journey, these are most helpful things to do. And in the end of that journey, these are the most helpful things to do. It doesn't tell you what to talk about. It doesn't tell you how to talk about it. It just tells you the domain and the place to focus to make change work best. So from that sense, the clinical protocol is an FFT treatment map, and it guides you around through the different most effective steps of change in the correct order, so that you can have an idea about what to do when, with what frequency, and what duration. It's really a systematic evidence-based change mechanisms in the model, and they're embedded in this step-by-step change process that is intended to promote individual capacity and family relationships over time. Each of these phases have measurable goals and clinical targets so that the family and you can know where you're going and how to get there. In that way, the FFT model is a family-focused relational pathway of change. It's a little like a winding road, right? It goes up, it goes down and around, while it's also going someplace. In FFT, that pathway to change is around 3 different phases. 3 phases in which you're always doing assessment and you're always doing intervention. The phases are meant to indicate, and the circles are because in those phases you do go around and around and around as you talk through things with families and try to bring them. The voice of the family should be central to decision making. Now, I've talked about the voice of the family a number of times already in these discussions, but it is essential for us. The difficulty in getting family voice is not the desire to, it's a technology to help bring it to the table. So for us, by using the FFT Care For system, we include the family in every step along the way by asking them after every session the impact we're having, the progress they feel like they're making, and the alliance they have, so that we can adjust and attend our treatment goals to where they stand. As I said, every session, families are asked to complete short measures of impact, alliance, and progress. That information goes into Care For, and it comes back out in what we call a quick look way. As you can see on the right-hand side, really easy to see colors and symbols so that you know what they mean without having to read a lot. This allows you to move quickly through your daily workflow. And what it actually does, and think about the value of this, it brings and includes the voice of every family member in every one of your decisions. This makes you get to your end goal more quickly and more effectively. Treatment needs to be relevant, and the outcomes need to be obtainable by the family and family focused in a way that they match to them. Here's what we mean by this. We mean that we can ask families lots of different things to do. And my joke is frequently that we can ask them to be far taller than they are, and that's a difficult ask, to be taller. What I mean is that some things are not obtainable by families within their structure, and we need to make sure that we ask things that are doable. And that doesn't mean we're going to take less, but it means that we have to ask things that are capable, that families have the capability of achieving. So it has to fit into their structures and values and their capabilities. It has to fit into the way they have their family structured and the way cultural binds them to what's important. Remember, our goal is to not only change the problem behavior, but help families in the future be empowered to continue to add things and to begin to solve things. If you can take and help a family with a current problem and then also help them with skills to handle the next problem, that's the most relevant, obtainable, and family-focused thing we can do. And within this, it's important to remember that tiny changes of things can have lasting alterations in how families work, because they change parts of behavioral patterns that can have a long-going positive outcome. What is a good outcome then that's an obtainable one? We're looking for a couple of really interesting things by families. First of all, that they keep up what we've done. They don't give it up, but they keep using it. That they can handle more and difficult problems effectively. That they can be consistent in their work and their handling of their children and their caretakers. They can adjust and adapt when things come up. They don't get knocked off their game by small variations. They can address bigger issues as they come up and feel not only empowered, but self-reliant, family-reliant, and community-reliant, rather than treatment-reliant. Evidence-based treatment, treatment planning, and fidelity monitoring promote positive outcomes. What I mean by this is that we're learning that with ongoing real-time information, we can make better decisions, we can make better treatment planning, and we can make sure that we can measure fidelity in a way that promotes outcomes so that the families benefit from all these activities. You know, the last thing you want is to have a treatment fidelity score that comes 6 months after you've done it so that there's nothing you can do to change. It doesn't help the family and it doesn't help you. It doesn't help if you get client feedback a month after it happened or when the case is closed. There's nothing you can do about it. So if we can incorporate evidence through your treatment planning and through what clients tell us into the ongoing everyday workings of FFT, we'll have a great benefit. So to be successful, clinicians really need feedback. You really need information from other sources about how you're doing. And that source can be your consultant, your supervisor, yourself, and your clients in terms of getting a different perspective on what you're doing. And FFT incorporates then very specific measurements and feedback systems to give you that ongoing information about the model impact and the symptoms and the behavior in our web-based tool. And that web-based tool, as you know, combines treatment planning with measures in order to help you match to the client in an evidence-based way. Think of it a little bit like an Apple Watch. You have 3 rings that are intended to distill the complexities of exercise. One is a movement one, one's exercise, and one's standing. The 3 core concept of being healthy and having daily exercise. Well, in FFT, we've done the very same thing. We're providing you with evidence of the impact you're having, the progress they feel, and the alliance they have, both with you and others, every session by session. And you're able to use those as your 3 rings to help fit your work closer and closer and closer to what the family, so that the family feels that they're getting what you're intending to provide.